I need you to understand something before I go any further. This story didn't start with money. It didn't start with a lawyer. It didn't even start with betrayal. It started with rain. Cold, biting rain that soaked through my sneakers and ran down my spine while I carried my entire childhood in a torn black trash bag. I was 11 years old. And that was the night my mother decided I no longer belonged to her. My name is Ava Monroe. I'm 32 now. I live on the West Coast, run a company people think is impressive, and from the outside, my life looks put together. But 4 months ago, I collapsed on the floor of a conference room at an airport in Connecticut when I learned my own family had been hiding something from me for 21 years. Something that almost got me killed. I still wake up at 3 a.m. some nights with my heart racing like I'm about to be kicked out all over again. So yeah, I'm telling you everything. Because what they did, and what I did after, changed who I am forever. Let me take you back. Glastonbury, Connecticut. Tuesday, November. Cold enough that your breath shows when you talk. I was 11 years old, clutching a permission slip for a school field trip to the Wadsworth Art Museum. All I needed was a signature and $3. That's it. $3. When I walked into the kitchen, my mom, Linda Monroe, was sitting at the table with the phone pressed to her ear. Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. It was flat, empty. "It's done," she said into the phone. "She's leaving tonight." I didn't even realize she was talking about me. She hung up, looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe, and said 4 words that rewired my entire life. "Go pack your things." I smiled. I thought she meant for the trip. I actually said, "Do you have $3? She didn't answer. She stood up, walked to the front door, opened it wide, and said, "You're leaving now." That's when I saw my brother Ethan, 14 years old, standing at the top of the stairs, watching everything. He didn't say a word, didn't move, just leaned on the railing like this was some TV show he wasn't emotionally invested in. My mother shoved a black garbage bag into my hands. Not a suitcase, not a backpack, a trash bag. Then she said the sentence that still echoes in my head like a gunshot. "Go. And don't come back." No coat. No explanation, no hug, no $3, just rain. I walked 3 miles. Rain soaked my hair, my clothes, my socks. My sneakers filled with water so fast they started squishing by the second block. The trash bag ripped near Hebron Avenue, and my library book fell straight into a puddle. I didn't stop to pick it up. I kept walking. Because when you're 11 and you've just been thrown away, you don't think about rules anymore, you just think about surviving. I knocked on my grandfather's door at 9:20 p.m. Henry Callahan, my mom's father, opened it. He didn't ask questions. Didn't look confused. Didn't call my mother. He just dropped to his knees on that wet porch, wrapped his arms around me, and whispered, "You're safe now, baby girl." That was the last time anyone in my family held me for 21 years. My grandparents' house was small, old, quiet. But it was warm. My grandmother Evelyn braided my hair before school. Read to me at night even when I pretended I was too old. Taught me how to cook Sunday pot roast like love was an ingredient. My mother never called. My brother never visited. No birthdays. No holidays. No. "Are you alive?" It was like I had been erased. Once, when I was 13 and crying because a girl at school asked why my mom never showed up for parent night, my grandpa set down his tools and said something I didn't understand back then. "One day you'll know why I'm protecting you." At the time, I thought he meant emotionally. I was wrong. When my grandmother died suddenly when I was 16, the house got quieter. Colder. But my grandfather stayed strong, for me. He drove me to college tours, proofread my essays, kept a locked wooden box in his closet he never let me touch. When I asked what was inside, he smiled and said, "Your future." 3 weeks before I left for college, he passed away in his sleep. And at his funeral, after 7 years of silence, my mother came back, dressed in black, silver cross around her neck, crying on strangers' shoulders like she'd lost something precious. She never looked at me. But my brother did. He leaned down and whispered, "Grandpa didn't leave you anything." Then he smiled. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. Because in the parking lot, A man in a gray suit approached me. He handed me a sealed envelope and said, "Not yet, but keep this." I didn't open it. I carried it for 14 years, and I had no idea it would be the reason I'm still alive today. I didn't open the envelope. Not that day. Not that week. Not even that year. I slid it into my wallet, then into a shoebox, then into the back of a filing cabinet like it was radioactive, like touching the truth too early might break whatever fragile balance my life had finally found. I was 18, alone, and terrified of losing the only sense of control I'd ever had. So I built a future instead. College wasn't a dream for me. It was survival. I studied computer science at the University of Connecticut, lived on scholarships, part-time jobs, and instant noodles. I worked the front desk at the library, cleaned offices at night, and learned early that exhaustion was cheaper than loneliness. No one from my family checked in. No one asked if I needed help. And somehow, that hurt less than hope. Every semester tuition got paid on time, no questions, no explanation, just covered. I didn't know then that someone was still watching my back. After graduation, I packed my life into a carry-on and moved to San Francisco with $600 and blind faith. I told myself it was ambition, but honestly, it was running. By 24, I was working 80-hour weeks at a startup in Soma, coding features I didn't care about, eating lunch at my desk, and sleeping in a studio apartment so small I could touch the sink from my bed. That's when the idea hit me. The kids I met in college who aged out of foster care, no parents, no safety net, no one to call when life punched them in the mouth. That was me, just with a grandfather-shaped miracle. So I built Nestlink, a platform that matched young adults aging out of the system with real mentors. Not donors, not saviors, just people who'd show up. By 30, investors noticed, the company exploded. On paper, I was wealthy. Inside, I was still an 11-year-old with a trash bag. The only person who knew my whole story was Maya Lopez, a nurse I met freshman year. Blunt, loyal, zero tolerance for BS. One night over greasy Thai food, she said something I never forgot. "If your family ever comes back," she said, "won't be because they miss you, it'll be because they need something." I laughed. But I also kept a garbage bag folded in my closet, just in case. The call came on a Wednesday night at 9:14 p.m., Connecticut area code. I stared at it until the phone stopped ringing. Then it rang again. Ava. Her voice was older, weaker, but unmistakable. "It's your mother." Silence swallowed the room. She told me she had early-stage cancer. That she'd found God, that she was sorry, she said. Sorry. 4 times in 2 minutes, and somehow each one felt more rehearsed than the last. Then she dropped the line that cracked something open inside me. "I want us together before it's too late. A family vacation. Hilton Head Island. Ethan wants to apologize too." I said no. She cried. I hung up and called Maya. She pulled the cancer card. Maya said instantly. "Textbook manipulation. Don't go." I didn't sleep for 3 nights. Because even when someone breaks you, part of you still wonders if this time might be different. On the 3rd night, I looked at a photo on my nightstand. Me and Grandpa Henry, sitting on his porch. He was smiling like he knew something I didn't. He would have wanted me to try, so I called my mother back. 3 days, I said. My own flight, my own room. She agreed too fast. That should have scared me. 20 minutes later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Be careful." 2 words, no name. I deleted it. That was my second warning. Hilton Head looked like a postcard someone forgot to sign. Spanish moss, salt air, sunset light that made everything look softer than it really was. My brother booked a beachfront resort. The kind that charges $12 for orange juice. I didn't ask how he paid for it. My mother hugged me like she'd never let go. "You're beautiful," she said. "Just like your grandmother." Ethan shook my hand like a stranger, introduced his girlfriend Samantha. All smiles, all surface. Dinner was almost normal. Almost. Ethan asked what I did for work. Then if I owned or rented. Then if I was comfortable financially. I gave vague answers and smiled. Back in my room, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Did your brother ask about money yet?" I didn't delete it this time. I took a screenshot. The next morning, my mother suggested family photos on the beach. While a resort employee lined up the shot, my mom said loudly. My daughter finally came back after running away all those years. I stood there, smiling, while she rewrote my childhood for strangers. That night, I heard her whispering with Ethan outside my door. She doesn't know? My mom said. She's suspicious, Ethan replied. Then be better, she snapped. I pressed my back against the bathroom wall, toothbrush shaking in my hand. I texted the unknown number. Who are you? The reply came 3 minutes later. Someone your grandfather trusted. I didn't know it yet, but by the time I sat down for breakfast on the third morning, my brother had already decided what would happen to me if I said no. That's a terrifying thing to realize in hindsight. Because the waffles were warm, the ocean breeze felt calm, and the man across from me was smiling like nothing in the world was wrong. Ethan walked into the restaurant carrying a manila folder like it was just paperwork from work. No drama. No hesitation. He set it down between the salt and pepper shakers. Hey, he said casually. I've been digging into Grandpa Henry's old estate stuff. My stomach dropped. Turns out there were some assets that never got properly consolidated. He continued. Mom and I think it'd be smart to clean it up. Keep everything under one family trust. He slid the papers toward me. The header read KLA Han Famile Trust Agreement. I'm not a lawyer. But when you build a company, you learn how to smell traps dressed up as favors. This document handed Ethan full control over every asset tied to my grandfather's name. Every single one. I need time to review this, I said. It's just a formality, he replied instantly. My mother reached for my hand. Sweetheart, I already signed. I pulled my hand back. I said I need time. The air shifted. Ethan's jaw tightened. Samantha suddenly found her phone very interesting. I took the folder back to my room, locked the door, and photographed every page. I sent them to my attorney in San Francisco. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Do not sign that, he said. This gives your brother absolute control over assets you probably don't even know exist. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Fly home. Don't say anything. There's a 6 a.m. flight from Savannah. Take it. A car will be waiting in Connecticut. My hands started shaking. What if this was a scam? What if I was being paranoid? Then I thought about the trash bag, the lies, the whispering outside my door. I booked the flight. I didn't sleep. At 4:30 a.m., the resort hallways smelled like chlorine and flowers. I took the service stairs, skipped checkout, and ordered an Uber from the parking lot. The driver was a retired teacher named Donna. Heading home? She asked. Yes, I said. And for the first time in 3 days, it felt true. Hartford Airport. Arrivals hall. A man in a gray suit held a sign with my name on it. Ava Morrow. Next to him stood 2 state police officers. My knees buckled. The man lowered the sign and extended his hand. My name is Samuel Brooks, he said. I was your grandfather's attorney. They led me to a small conference room, beige walls, fluorescent lights, a round table. Samuel placed 3 items in front of me: a bound legal document, a sealed envelope, cream-colored, wax seal intact, a thick folder labeled Kel Ihan. Your grandfather drafted this will in 2011, he said. It names you as the sole beneficiary of his entire estate. The room tilted. Estimated value, he added carefully, is approximately $2.9 million. I grabbed the table to stay upright. Hay added 2 conditions, Samuel continued. You had to turn 32, and your family had to contact you. I laughed, hollow and sharp. They only came back for the money. Yes, he said. But that's not why the police are here? He opened the folder. Text messages. Ethan to an unknown contact. If she doesn't sign by Thursday, go to Plan B. Reply. Plan B costs double. Another message from Ethan. Whatever it takes. Samuel gestured to a woman sitting quietly near the wall. This is Rachel Dunn, private investigator. Rachel spoke calmly. Your brother owes over $300,000. Gambling debts. Dangerous people. She clicked her laptop. They plan to make your death look like an accident. Balcony. Pool. Something clean. My vision went black. I remember hitting the floor. When I woke up, a paramedic was telling me to count backward from 10. I did. And when I opened my eyes, I knew something deep in my bones. I was done being afraid. I didn't open the envelope right away. Even after everything Samuel and Rachel showed me. Even after I found out my brother had put a price on my life. Even after I woke up on the floor of that conference room with strangers checking my pulse. I still couldn't open it. Because that envelope wasn't about money, it was about the one person who never lied to me, my grandmother. Samuel arranged a quiet hotel room in Hartford, nothing fancy, nothing traceable, just clean, quiet, safe, the kind of place where the walls don't echo. Rachel coordinated with state police. Ethan would be arrested the next morning. The man he hired, Victor Hale, had already been picked up in South Carolina and was talking fast. Maya flew in from Boston that night. She didn't ask questions when she saw my face. She dropped her bag, wrapped her arms around me, and held me like she was trying to keep me in one piece. "I told you not to go?" she said softly. "I know," I whispered. "But if I didn't, they would have found me anyway." She didn't argue. She knew I was right. When she fell asleep in the chair by the window, I finally reached into my bag. I took out the envelope. Cream-colored. Wax seal cracked but still holding. My name written in my grandmother Evelyn Callahan's handwriting. My hands shook as I broke the seal. Inside was one sheet of pale yellow paper, and a photograph. I read the letter first. "My dearest Ava, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and your grandfather is gone, and someone is trying to take what belongs to you. I wish I could tell you I stopped it while I was alive. I wish I could say I was braver. But I want you to know this. You were never the problem. Your mother was broken long before you were born. Instead of fixing herself, she broke you. You deserved better. You always did. Your grandfather and I loved you quietly, carefully, the way you love something you're afraid might be stolen. Build your own nest, little bird. And fill it with people who choose you back. Love always. Grandma Evelyn." I pressed the paper to my chest and let myself cry. Not the violent kind of crying. The kind that leaks out when something heavy finally lifts. Then I turned over the photograph. It was me at 5 years old, sitting on Evelyn's lap. Both of us laughing at something outside the frame. On the back, written in pencil, "You are always enough." Maya woke up and sat beside me without saying a word. She didn't ask what the letter said. She didn't have to. At 1:47 a.m., my phone buzzed. "Samuel. Victor is cooperating. Ethan will be arrested at 7 a.m. I stared at the screen, then at the letter. My brother had tried to erase me twice, once when I was 11. And again when I was 32. The next morning, Rachel sent a short report. Ethan was arrested at my mother's house while eating cereal. My mother screamed on the porch in her bathrobe, gripping the railing like the house was sinking. 40 minutes later, my phone rang. "Ava," my mother said, breathless, "they took your brother. What did you do?" "He hired someone to kill me," I said calmly. Silence. "That's ridiculous," she said. "Ethan would never." "I've seen the messages," I said. "Including yours." Her voice dropped. "What messages?" I read it to her. Word for word. "Do what you have to do. Just keep me out of it." 10 seconds passed. Then she said, quieter, "That wasn't about hurting you. That's for the judge to decide," I said. And hung up. In the days that followed, the truth started surfacing like rot under fresh paint. A neighbor from my childhood called me Patricia Boyd. She lived 3 houses down. She told me something no one ever had. "The night you were kicked out," she said, "I called the police. I saw a child walking alone in the rain with a trash bag. The officer went to my mother's house. My mother told him I'd left voluntarily to stay with relatives. The case was closed. I had been abandoned, and then erased on paper." Samuel later confirmed my grandfather kept a copy of that report. He tried to get custody of me multiple times. My mother threatened to accuse him of abuse if he didn't stop. So he protected me from the shadows instead. That was when I understood something devastating. I had never been unwanted. I had been fought over. I didn't post online. Didn't defend myself to my mother's church friends. I built something instead. Because that's what my grandfather taught me, and because the truth, real truth, doesn't need shouting. It just needs light. The courthouse smelled like old paper and floor polish. The kind of place where lies go to die quietly. Courtroom 3B, Hartford Probate Court. Tuesday morning, 9:15 sharp. Every seat was filled. My mother's church friends sat together on one side. Pressed blouses, folded hands, whispers that stopped when I entered. On the other side sat people who actually knew the truth: Patricia Boyd, Maya, and a few neighbors who looked like they were finally ready to stop pretending. My mother sat at the front table in black, silver cross around her neck, tissue in her hand. She looked fragile. She always did when she wanted to be. Her attorney spoke first. He described my grandfather as elderly, confused, easily influenced. He said the word concern 3 times. He said the word capacity 4. Then Samuel stood, calm, precise, unrushed. He placed a psychiatric evaluation on the judge's bench, dated 2 weeks before the will was signed. Full cognitive competency confirmed. Then he opened my grandfather's diary and read, November 14, 2003. Linda called tonight, said she put Ava out. The child walked 3 miles in the rain to my door. She was 11. She was shaking. Linda said, keep her. I don't want her. The room went silent. Not church quiet, grave quiet. My mother stood up so fast her chair scraped the floor. That's a lie, she shouted. He made that up. Sit down, the judge said firmly. She did. Patricia Boyd took the stand next. She told them about the rain, about the trash bag, about the 911 call. She looked directly at my mother. There was nothing voluntary about it, she said. I watched that little girl disappear down the street. One woman from the church side slowly sat down her purse and didn't pick it up again. During recess, my mother grabbed my wrist. Her grip was tight, desperate. You're killing me? She whispered. Is that what you want? I removed her hand, finger by finger. I just want the truth to have a voice, I said. When court resumed, Samuel entered the final evidence into the record. Text messages. My brother's plan. The price, the fallback. And then the 8 words that sucked the air out of the room. Do what you have to do. Just keep me out of it. My mother's words. No tears this time, no performance. Just exposure. The judge reviewed the file. 8 minutes that felt like 80. Then he spoke. The court finds the will of Henry Callahan to be valid. Ava Monroe is the sole beneficiary. My mother's shoulders folded inward, not dramatically. Just defeated. Samuel wasn't done. He informed the court that evidence related to a criminal conspiracy had been forwarded to prosecutors. My brother faced up to 20 years. The judge advised my mother to consult counsel. No one from her church moved to comfort her. Outside, the sun was too bright. Life was still happening. A reporter asked me for a comment. I said the only thing that felt true. My grandfather built things. Houses, futures. Even after he was gone, he built mine. She asked what I planned to do with the house. I'm turning it into a transitional home for kids, aging out of foster care. I said. It'll be called the Callahan Nest. Because my grandmother once told me to build my own. The criminal trial came 3 months later. By then, the shock had worn off, and what was left was heavier. Reality. My brother didn't fight it. His lawyer advised him to take the plea. The evidence wasn't a hill, it was a mountain. Texts, financial records, a cooperating accomplice. There was nowhere to run. He pled guilty to criminal solicitation, 8 years. Eligible for parole after 5. I sat in the courtroom when the judge handed down the sentence. Ethan wore a county issued jumpsuit and the same expression I'd seen on men in true crime documentaries. Not remorse, not regret. Just disappointment that the plan didn't work. Before the bailiff led him away, he turned toward me. I waited. Just for a second. For something human. I just needed the money, he said. That was it. Not I'm sorry. Not I was wrong. Just you were in the way. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. My mother was never charged. Legally, her message was ambiguous. Morally, it wasn't. But the court of public opinion moved faster than the justice system ever does. Her church quietly removed her from volunteer roles. Neighbors stopped answering her calls. The version of herself she'd curated for 2 decades, the devoted mother, the tragic victim, collapsed overnight. Within a month, she sold her house and moved to Florida. Alone, 1 week later, she requested a meeting. Through Samuel. Public place, neutral ground, I agreed. A coffee shop on Main Street. Midday. Crowded enough to keep things civil. Maya sat at a nearby table pretending to read a magazine upside down. My mother arrived without makeup. No cross necklace. No performance. She looked older. Smaller. I'm sorry, she said. For which part? I asked. She blinked. For everything. That's not specific enough for me to accept. She cried quietly. Real tears or muscle memory, I couldn't tell anymore. And for the first time in my life, I realized something freeing. It didn't matter. I'm not pressing additional charges, I said. That's not mercy, it's just not worth my energy. She looked up, hopeful. But here's what will happen. I continued. You will not contact me. You will not visit the house. You will not speak about me publicly. If you do, Samuel has everything he needs. This isn't a negotiation, I added. It's a boundary. I'm your mother, she said weakly. You were, I replied. You chose not to be. I stood, left money on the table, walked out. I didn't look back. 3 days later, Patricia Boyd called. She's standing across the street, she said. Just looking at the house. I walked outside. My mother stood on the opposite curb, hands in her pockets. He gave it to you, she said. The house. Yes. And you gave it to strangers. I gave it to kids who needed a door opened, I said. Can I come in? She asked, just once. I thought about the rain, the trash bag, the 17 custody petitions. No, I said. This is their safe place, not yours. She nodded. Turned, walked away. She didn't look back. Inside, a girl named Lily, 16, arms crossed tight, asked me quietly, Did your family throw you out too? Yes, I said. And you turned out okay. I thought carefully. I turned out honest, I said. That's better than okay. She uncrossed her arms just a little. I noticed. The house on Maplewood Drive sat empty for 14 years. Same white siding, same creaky porch steps, same oak tree out front that dropped leaves like it was shedding old memories on purpose. It didn't feel haunted. It felt patient. Like it had been waiting. We didn't do a ribbon cutting, no cameras, no speeches, just 14 volunteers, donated paint, and a contractor who knocked 10 grand off the bill after reading one article about the trial. We fixed the porch boards my grandfather never got around to replacing, patched drywall, sanded floors until the house smelled like fresh beginnings instead of dust. I kept Grandpa Henry's desk in the living room. On it, I placed 3 things: the photo of Grandma Evelyn and me, the oak box with his journals, a mug of black coffee every morning. Nobody drank it. But it felt right. The Callahan nest opened with 3 teenagers. No ceremonies, no promises we couldn't keep, just keys, rules, and one truth. This place doesn't fix you, I told them. It gives you room to figure it out. Lily took the smallest bedroom upstairs. Marcus claimed the couch like it was a throne. Janelle cried the first night, not loudly, just quietly, like someone afraid to take up space. Patricia Boyd ran daily operations. 4 neighbors joined the volunteer board. People who'd believed my mother's story for 20 years and were finally ready to make it right. Maya handled medical forms and safety plans like the nurse she is. Nestlink integrated mentorship support. It worked. 6 months in, 14 kids had passed through the house. Some stayed. Some moved on. 2 enrolled in community college. 1 earned a full scholarship. All of them learned something critical. Safe doesn't mean perfect. It means yours. One Sunday afternoon, I found something hidden behind a stack of old tax folders in Grandpa's closet. 17 legal petitions. Every single one was a failed attempt to gain custody of me. 17 times he walked into court. 17 times my mother fought him. 17 times he lost. And never once did he tell me. At the bottom was a letter, unfinished. I failed you 17 times in court. I will not fail you in my final act. I sat on the floor and cried like a child again. But not from loss. From love. A year after the will was confirmed, Samuel called me into his office. He handed me one final envelope. My grandfather's handwriting, unsteady, but certain. If you're reading this, the letter said, you survived. I knew you would. I folded it and held it to my chest. That night we had spaghetti at the nest, overcooked, undersalted, made by a 17-year-old who swore he followed the recipe. No one complained. After dinner, Lily asked me for help with her college essay. What's your topic? I asked. She shrugged. The people who saved me. I smiled. Write about the person who saved yourself, I said. She paused. 1 year later, the house is never quiet. There's always someone reheating leftovers at midnight. Someone playing music too loud upstairs. Someone sitting at the kitchen table staring at a textbook like it personally offended them. The walls are scuffed now. The chore chart is ignored more often than not. And the couch has a permanent dent where Marcus refuses to sit anywhere else. It's not perfect. It's alive. 14 kids have passed through the Callahan nest so far. 6 moved into their own apartments. 2 enrolled in college. 1 landed a full scholarship she didn't think she deserved. The rest are still here. Learning, failing, trying again. Learning that safety doesn't mean silence. That love doesn't come with threats. That home isn't something you earn by being easy to deal with, it's something you build. I split my time now, West Coast and Connecticut. 2 lives, 1 purpose. Nestlink crossed 3,000 mentor matches last quarter. I finally started therapy. Turns out surviving isn't the same thing as healing. Who knew? My therapist says strength isn't about never breaking, it's about healing out loud. I'm working on that. Grace. Sorry Maya. Still comes every other weekend. We cook in my grandfather's kitchen using my grandmother's recipes. The pot roast is never quite right. The cornbread always burns a little. It still tastes like home. I hung a photo on the fridge. Not my mother. Not my brother. It's me, Maya, Patricia Boyd, 3 volunteers, and 6 nest kids, all mid-laugh on the porch. No one posed. It's my favorite thing I own. A few months ago, Patricia called me in the afternoon. She's across the street, she said quietly. My mother. Just standing there. I walked outside. She looked older than her years now. Smaller. Like someone who had finally run out of stories to tell herself. He gave you everything? She said. Even the house. Yes, I said. You gave it away. No, I said. I used it. She stood there for a moment, then asked, did I really lose you forever? I thought about the rain, the trash bag, the 17 court petitions, and I answered honestly, you lost me the night you stopped protecting me. She nodded and walked away. She didn't look back. Later that night, Lily sat beside me on the porch. Do you think people can change? She asked. Yes, I said. But wanting access to someone's life isn't the same as earning it. She nodded like that made sense, then leaned her head against the porch railing and stared at the stars. Here's what I know now. You don't owe loyalty to people who confuse control with love. You don't owe forgiveness on someone else's timeline. And you absolutely do not owe silence to protect people who wouldn't protect you. Leaving isn't betrayal, boundaries aren't cruelty. And building a life they never planned for you isn't revenge, it's survival. My grandfather knocked on 17 courtroom doors for me, 17 times. If no one has knocked on yours yet, consider this my knock. You were never too much, you were never the problem, and you are absolutely allowed to build a life that feels safe. Build your nest. Thank you for staying until the end.